Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm an e-learning evangelist here with eLearning Brothers. Today we're going to be talking about the new eLearning Brothers styles that we'll be releasing or have released. This webinar will be recorded, and you'll get a copy of that in an email later today. And we'll also be posting it online on our site later in the week. To talk to us about these new styles, we have Bill Milstead, one of our senior developers, with us today. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. We're glad to have you with us, and we're excited to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah.
As this webinar is moving on, if you have questions during, we'll be taking those questions from the questions panel, and I'll try to take as many of those questions in front of Bill so that he can answer those as well. We'll also be answering those in the questions panel. If we don't get to your question, I apologize. We'll do our best to continue the conversation in the webinar recap. Also, just so you know, one of the things we like to do after the webinar is try to follow up as soon as possible. Sometimes it's just to get feedback. Most of the time we want to touch base and find out if anybody needs one-on-one clarification about webinar topics after the fact. But you all came to hear about styles, so I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Bill.
All right, guys. Thank you, Andrew. Like Andrew said, everybody, we're going to be talking about styles. It's basically a kind of a small change to the eLearning Brothers library that's actually pretty exciting. So we're gonna move on into that now. So kind of just background, in the past we've had both families of designs and kind of one-offs that were fairly variable at times in terms of their design, approach to development, and most importantly, kind of the range, right, of what might be included in a family. So here's kind of a bit of an exaggerated example of what I mean. Just to make this kind of crystal clear, right? So let's say we have three designs that we're talking about. We've got Theme A, Theme B, and Game C here. Design Theme A includes 10 layouts and interactions, while Design Theme B includes 33 layouts and interactions, and Game C is a standalone, kind of a self-styled interaction. Again, a bit exaggerated, but we might have run into a situation kind of like that in the past, right? So some of these layouts would clearly be different, obviously, right? We've got 10 in one set and 33 in another. We're at least missing, a gap here. And sometimes, that may mean that, if you were building something out in one set, you wanted some support files from another, you might have trouble getting to those two. So occasionally, maybe there were developmental differences between these two families. Now, you as a user, obviously being an eLearning Brothers, customer, have access to all of these things. But let's say that you've kind of settled in on the design of Theme A over here. You need one of the interactions from Theme B, kind of as mentioned earlier, right? Or you simply want to include Game C that you've developed into your Theme A using Theme A's branding. Now, again, because you've got access to all these, you can certainly do that. You can retheme all those templates using the assets that we provide in the library, no problem, right? But back to kind of what we were getting at, right? There's gaps here, and maybe it would be easier if we could just swap seamlessly from one section to another, or if everything was kind of consistent, so we didn't need to necessarily worry about gapping things out, right? Or moving from one theme to another, or the user doing that. And that's kind of some of the feedback that we heard along the way, and we listened to it because we think that the system that we have works great. It's awesome. We've got good feedback on that, but we didn't necessarily think it was ideal based on some feedback that we had heard, based on what we want to do with the company as we grow. And at the same time, we're working pretty heavily to improve just the template product in general, both a number of other ways, right, in terms of design, in terms of kind of how we handle what we're giving out to our users. So we created this new thing that we're talking about today, styles. All right, that was kind of a long background there, but I think it'll help a little bit. So styles basically are kind of design template families. We take all these things that we're talking about here and we group them up so that there's no variability. That's stuff that we were talking about earlier, right, where you may have 10 in one, 33 in another standalone game. Well, we're eliminating that. We are creating a core group of common layouts and interactions, all completely redeveloped and optimized for Storyline 3. Captivate 17, Lectora 17, so on, right? All the new stuff, all that kind of top of mind. and new designs, right? We're coming out with some looks and feels to really kind of push what we can do in rapid authoring tools. So far, we've released 2 styles, and we're going to look a little bit at that later on. And we've got 10 currently in production, a ton more in design. So let's look at what's actually kind of included here with each style. See some bullet points there, right? We've got 31 different layouts, interactions included, that each style that we're creating is going to be, that's going to be the baseline that's included with each style that we're creating here. Now, if you'll notice, there are some duplicates in there. We've got 10 click-to-reveals of different varieties, 6 drag and drops. We've got 1 layout starter in there that has 25 different screen designs, a quiz with 7 different screen designs, including a custom feedback screen and an introduction screen. And that is in line with, again, the feedback that we've gotten from our users. These layouts kind of fit into what folks are asking for from the library, and also an opportunity to create some kind of new stuff and send it out to you guys. With each one of these styles, appropriate fonts and resources are included as well. So no needing to go out there and kind of search between items, or oh, am I missing something? How do I change this object from red to green? Can I get into the Illustrator source here and play with it? We're going to have that stuff ready for you for each one of these. Each has also been optimized to the tool. So I mentioned that kind of briefly previously. We've set each one of these styles up, the templates included in each style rather, for the newest version. Articulate Storyline 3, Captivate 17, Lectora Inspire 17. So really what that means is in Storyline 3, where possible, we've included graphics as custom shapes rather than PNGs. Animations and designs are, we've really gone in there and optimized for HTML5 only output, or certainly put that at the forefront of consideration when we're developing animations in the tool. Which means that you have, kind of an out-of-the-box HTML5 ready piece that is highly editable. Much more so than we would have seen in previous versions of Storyline. Similarly, in Captivate, we've employed the new fluid boxes to enable content resizing, responsiveness as much as possible there, and we've completely rebuilt any previously existing Storyline Lectora templates rather, and again maximized and kind of optimized any of the new ones for the new features of Lectora. With a kind of a focus on responsiveness there as well. All right, so quickly moving on from that, let's kind of take a look at one of these styles in action. I'm going to move my screen over to Storyline, so bear with me here for a moment, and we're going to look at the first style that we've put out. Just kind of see a few examples of templates in that family, that style. So. All right. Andrew, can you see my screen here?
Yep, looks great.
Great. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to take a look at here is this sorting drag and drop. So this style that we're going to look at is called Shamrock. It's kind of the foundational style that we have. It's a flat, clean, very simple style. Kind of adapts to just about everything. As we go forward, when you look at some of the newer styles, you'll see that there are some that are a lot more in-depth and kind of lush in their design. This one is very crisp and to the point, which kind of is great for showing you guys, right, in a webinar. So the first one here, drag and drop sorting. We've got some color-based feedback. The basic idea here being we've got a few different objects. We're sorting them into different categories, or removing distractors in our trash can below. As you do so, obviously you get a custom correct feedback or an incorrect feedback option, as you would expect, in a typical interaction. Now, cool thing about all of these is that they use, like I was saying, Storyline built-in features as much as possible. So where we can, right, and not so much in this example because this is a custom drag and drop, we've left the out-of-the-box functionality there. So even trying to do so with graphics. Some cool things to note, right? Actually, our icon in this example is using a font widget so that you can go in and kind of play with color and restyle as you need. All shapes in this particular template are built-in storyline, shapes. No PNGs, no flat background graphics for you to mess with. If you need to restyle based on your color scheme for your project, that is very easy to do so. Or if you stick as is intended, with the shamrock style, you've got 31 different interactions to go with it, and you can kind of adapt as minimally necessary too. I'm going to look at another one here very briefly. This is our scrolling text scenario. It's kind of a play on, a mobile text message string, which we actually have a few new templates in here that are much more explicitly, device-oriented. We've got a tablet scenario and a mobile device scenario. This one's kind of more of like a chat message thread. Got a few messages. You scroll down to review the remainder of the thread. If you need to re-review, you can do so. And then finally, you make a choice and receive feedback. Now this one allows remediation and multiple choices if need be until the correct answer is gotten. Again, all of these are built-in storyline shapes where humanly possible, which is actually just about everywhere in Storyline 3, which is great nowadays, with instructions to help you edit content or images or assets where something kind of out of the norm has been done. All right, I'm going to move on to our branching read and select. This one I like because this one gives another kind of a deeper dive option for a scenario here. So like in the last one that we looked at, we had kind of a simple read a string of messages going on, select from 4 possible answers. If you get one wrong, you get immediate feedback and you can go back and reselect another option. This is kind of a one step further than that example. Got a read and select scenario here with 3 different options at bottom. Select one. You can decide if that is your answer after you've read additional content or remediation or however you choose to employ this, or go back and choose another option. If you choose incorrectly, you're then locked out. And if you choose correctly, you obviously get the inverse reaction, right? We get a correct response. So once again, where possible, we've gone in and used custom storyline, or rather standard storyline objects. These quote icons are an example of how we can kind of use new features of storyline and kind of make it custom, but also keep it technically, out of the box. So for instance, these are custom shapes rather than PNGs, so that you can go in and edit or style as necessary. Similarly, the way that we've handled image styling on this template is, rather than worrying about an overlay or styling this outside in Photoshop, we've gone in and edited these images in the states using Storyline's kind of built-in functionality. Yeah. So then the last template out of the 4 out of these shamrocks I wanted to show you is actually a game that we've gone in and restyled for Shamrock. This is actually a pretty popular game that we've had in the library for a bit. We've updated it, kind of changed some of the development, the background, and we've also obviously gone in and re-themed it. So if I show that to you, what you'll see on stormcloud here is a pretty cool little template. Now I'm showing it to you guys on stormcloud because it uses a lot of JavaScript. Just the way that this tool or this game works, it kind of is a little bit beyond the storyline basic functionality. So that's why I wanted to show you this one. We get a lot of kind of requests for this type of thing in this template especially. And this is an outlier, right? So I've spent a lot of time saying, hey, we did as much inside the box as we could. That's true for 30 of them. This one steps out a bit, but it's a great little template. So kind of running through it, introduction screen. This kind of works like a family feud. All right, so you got a question here. What type of food do you eat with your fingers? Say chips is a pretty popular one, as is maybe French fries, right? You get 3 options to select your answers, and positive or negative feedback based on what you did with your time. Time being another point there. Each option to get your answers correct or incorrect comes with a 20-second timer. You can adjust that as needed. I'll show you in just a second. And again, feedback for an incorrect score or a failing score with a retry button, so you can go in and redo it. All right. Yeah. So while we needed to use JavaScript a fair amount to control kind of the way that template functions, what we did do that was, I think, is great, is really we've left everything extremely easily controllable by you nonetheless. So on each layer in here where it's appropriate, we've got some pretty in-depth explanations of how to go in, set your answers for what you want to be scoring against, set alternate answers, and you do that. You can do that using the variable pane or directly through the trigger pane over here. So while we are stepping outside of kind of your standard parameters for a storyline game here, and pretty heavily so, it is still very easily editable within the storyline tool. All right, now I've shown you all these just in storyline, but again, we absolutely have these built out for Lectora and Captivate. So if you're not a storyline developer, apologies for not showing the other versions there today. We've got those coming up, and suffice to say that they are also super cool. So, new designs. Last thing I kind of wanted to breeze through here before maybe we hop into questions, if anybody has them, is just kind of a real quick look at some designs we've got coming down the pike, right? So we talked about styles being a common set, kind of like a design family that uses a core set of baseline, foundational templates. This screen is an example of that. These are 4 quick screen grabs of 4 different styles that are all using basically the same interaction here. It's 5-tab left. This one bottom right is a 4-tab, but again, same foundational interaction, but 4 pretty distinctly different styles there. Again, 2 different styles in the same execution, these being 4 tabs rather than 5, but again, the same basic interaction. Further future examples here, this is our campfire theme we've got coming along. This is a theme called Jet Black, and at the bottom it's called Newstone. 3 different executions on our folder tabs, which again lives in all of our styles here. And once again, we've got a 4-tab. This is a 4-button multiple choice interaction in our 80s neon style and campfire upcoming. And then the last 4 images here are just random kind of screenshots of a few different screens that are included through some of these other styles as well. We've got kind of a nice Swiss style up in this top left that we're working on coming down the pike. Very kind of crisp and clean and corporate. This is a title screen from one of those layouts. To the right is our brush script style. It's kind of the exact opposite, really, of the Swiss style. And at the bottom, we've got 2 different layouts. We've seen these. We've got our campfire style and our 80s neon that are upcoming. Again, just kind of teasers so that you guys can see where we're headed with some of this stuff. Get a feel for what designs might be coming down the pike, and kind of see how we're changing a little bit of how we're presenting templates to you guys there. So,
Bill, can you go back one slide so we can talk about some of these changes? So there's a few questions. The biggest question here is when. You said that some of these are released now. do we have a timeline when the rest are coming, or and how are these being released? Are these going to all be released on Storyline and then all be released on Captivate? Or are we going to release all of them at the same time? People are very interested in about the win.
Great. Yeah, no, we are, honestly, the honest answer is as fast as we possibly can. We're trying to get them out as quick as possible. So here's how, and I know that that's kind of a dodge, so let me back up and give you a better answer. Right now, we have Shamrock completely out in Storyline, and I believe almost entirely out for Captivate and Lectora. I need to double check how many of those elements are up, if any, on the library right now, or if they're just slated to go up shortly. Okay, so you'll notice there that answer there. Oh, and the same for Newstone, I would say. I know we've got Storyline elements going up for Flat Blue, rather, not Newstone. So we've got 2 out. Storyline is our starter tool. We begin there, we get them developed out, and then we kind of use those as design references. In most cases for other tools, in terms of picking up the flow of development, rather. Sorry, I'm speaking poorly today. So that's how we'll be doing it in the future. You know, look down the road. What you'll start to see is a family come out in Storyline, and then we will begin to release that in the following tools. The idea being, as we go, to have those all kind of start to come out as close to concurrently as possible. Right now, it is kind of staggered.
Okay, great. Another question is clarification on what is customizable. For example, there in the top right slide, if someone really likes that style but they don't want it to be black, white, and gray, how easy can they change an image or a color?
Extremely easy. And so that was the whole focus for us. And I'm really glad to hear that question, because I probably didn't hit on it clearly enough, along the way. We've really tried to make these as user-friendly with customization as possible. So, the tabs on the left-hand side here, like looking at the campfire, or yes, this black one. The tabs on the left-hand side, the header box here, everything you're seeing on the screen there, you can edit in Storyline. The way that we've handled the images is very, very simple. We've got just state changes and instruction sets there for you to be able to go in and do that editing pretty easily. So honestly, throughout these styles, you should be able to edit. I'm going to say, really the aim was just about everything. That's kind of the goal. Clearly, there are some spots where we're going to have to use some images that would be a little difficult to manipulate, but changing them out and replacing them, no problem. Changing states with other assets, etc., no problem whatsoever. They really do work as much like a kind of just an out-of-the-box Storyline template as you can possibly get.
Okay, great. Another question here is, are these being created as a new library, or are these going to be added to the template library and available in the master pack and things like that? And I'll go ahead and take that question. These are being added to our template library. They will be available in the master pack. They'll be free to all paying members of the template library. So they're just being included into that template library and growing our already huge library into, as you can see, something enormous. So Bill, remind me again. So we've got 31 different designs inside each of these styles. How many total styles are we planning on making, or how many do we have on the block so far?
Well, yeah. So right now we have 2 completed, and we've got an additional, I believe, 10 in production currently, along with plans for a number more. So, that right there, I'm assuming you're going to jump straight to the quick math, right? It's we're within the next few months, somewhere around 300 to 400 new designs on templates coming out, with no plans to stop anytime soon, I believe.
That's true. Our development and design teams have been head down in this for a long time, and they're looking forward to doing it for longer. We've got tons of awesome designs here. Bill, if you can go ahead and take me to the next slide. The thing is that some of these are available now. They're going to be rolled out more and more in the upcoming weeks, and they're going to look they're going to be amazing. They're going to be great. Now you can register for a free account today and take a look at some of the other templates, or give a call to 801-796-2767, and they can show you more of these templates. And you can also send an email to info@elearningbrothers.com, and we're happy to reach out to you that way and make sure that you're aware of these new releases. We'll be also announcing, if you're not already on our newsletter, I'm sure a lot of you are on our newsletter, we'll be announcing as these come out to make sure that you know that there's a new style pack that's available and that you can dive into those and take a look at them. Thank you so much, Bill, for your time. This is phenomenal. This is really exciting. A lot of excitement here about these new styles. They're going to be coming quick, like he said, as soon as we can, and so hopefully we'll be able to look for those. But thanks everybody for joining us, and be looking for the webinar email in the next hour or so, the recording of this webinar and some links to some other free stuff. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.